We have talked with more than 400 terminally ill patients in order to find out what their real needs are and how we can best help them. We found out that most patients go through 5 stages in coming to terms with the fact that they are dying. And often their families and sometimes even the medical staff go through the same stage as the patient does. When the patient is told that he has a serious illness, he first reacts with shock and denial. No, not me. We have seen patients maintaining their denial for months and months towards their family and towards their physician, and when we came in and asked them, how sick are you? Conveying to them that we don't need denial. They said, I'm full of cancer. Many, many times we have seen patients who said, I know I have cancer, but my family doesn't know. And the doctor says, I know he has cancer, but the patient doesn't know. And the family says, I know he has cancer, but don't tell him. And usually we ask the patient to convey to the family that he knows and that it's much better to talk about it frankly and open rather than to waste all the little remaining energy in playing a game. When the patient can no longer say, no, not me, his next question is usually, why me? And the patient gets angry and he questions why this is happening to him. He's angry at the people, he's angry at God. He raises his voice, he becomes very, very difficult management problem sometimes. He rings for the nurse all the time. He complains to the family about their visiting. Whatever you do is no good. We find that the more peppy, the more energetic, and in a way, the more effective you are, the more you get this patient's anger. They are angry at what you represent. If you come in full of life, energy, functioning, you rub in what this patient is in the process of losing. You make him aware that, yes, 2 weeks ago, I would walk around quick and peppy like this. I was able to work. I was able to go home to fix dinner for my children. I was able to do this and that, and look at me now. And they are angry about all the things they are in the process of losing, and they are angry at you only because you remind them of all the things that they were able to do. What we found most helpful to do with those patients is not to make them feel guilty and kind of convey to them that they are bad patients, but to kind of put yourself into the patient's shoes for a moment and say, you know, I think I would be angry too. Get it out. Get it off your chest. I think it's a perfectly normal human reaction, and if you can get it off, maybe it helps you a little bit. Then the patient usually becomes less apprehensive, less difficult to manage and to handle and to tolerate. And he enters what we call the stage of bargaining. The bargaining, he's beginning to acknowledge, yes, me, but he adds a little word to it, but. And the but really means, maybe if I'm a good patient or a good Christian or I promise something, maybe I can live a little bit longer. And I think everybody needs this kind of truth, needs a little time of temporary peace, where you don't want to think about it, where you feel that you have a certain time, and the patient kind of recuperates to mobilize new energies for the final stages. When the bargaining time is up and he says, yes, me, but, when he drops the but, then he begins to really face, yes, it's me. And the patients then become depressed. I regard grief and depression in this period of time of a patient's life as very, very normal. What do we do when we come into a patient's room, patient who cries, especially if it's a man? Our tendency is to come in and try to cheer them up and say, oh, isn't it a lovely day outside, and cheer up, it's not so bad. For a patient who has the courage to face not only that he's losing one loved one, but everybody he has ever loved, and everything he has ever loved he has to separate himself from. It's a very sad state of affairs, and he should be allowed to express this grief. He has to mourn not only the things he has already lost, which includes probably the job and the income and just to being at home with the family, which includes maybe an organ, maybe a breast, maybe a limb. But he goes then through the preparatory grief. That means he's beginning to separate himself from this earth. And that shows in a practical way in that he asks for all the friends to come and visit him once more. Then he would like to see his children once more. And then at the very end he only needs 1 or 2 people who are comfortable and who can sit in what we call the silence that goes beyond words. The silent companionship of a loved one, who can just sit and hold your hand or touch your hair or just be with you without words. A patient cannot reach this if he's not allowed to grieve. Stage of acceptance is not resignation. Resignation is kind of a bitter giving up, a defeat. What's the use? Acceptance is not a happy stage, but it's a feeling of I have finished my unfinished business. I have done my best. I would like to lie back in my pillows now, and I'm ready for the last journey, if that's how people conceive of it. If you can help them through this, at the very end they have much less physical pain. They are at peace inside and outside.